In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. He was in the beginning with God. All things were made through him, and without him nothing was made that was made.
For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whoever believes in him should not perish, but have everlasting life. For God did not send his Son into the world to condemn the world, but that the world through him might be saved.
Good evening, everybody. I'm your host, Jake Johnson, and you're watching Untethered Livestream. Won't you join me? Take my hand, and we'll go together off the deep end. It's Sunday night. That means Old Testament. Old Testament Bible study. That's right. We're getting old school. Old Testament on you. We're getting hellfire and brimstone. None of that's in the Bible, but okay, we'll go there. How are you doing this fine evening? How are my people? I see somebody's here. Hello, somebody. We are going to delve into the finer points of Deuteronomy tonight. See what happens. We're in Deuteronomy chapter 7, verse 1, I believe. Starting a new book right off and proper. I've had a good evening today. I was visited by a blast from the past, somebody I hadn't seen in a while. Come by and spent the day with me. That was pretty nice. Got some music played in. Playing some drums. What's up, Kevin? Hey, buddy. Good to see you. Y'all have a good weekend? Have fun? I had a buddy of mine I hadn't seen in a long time come by today and spend a day with me. It's pretty nice to know people still care about you. This is a kid that I took in when he was 16 years old. Gave him a place to stay and got him a job playing drums in my band, and he traveled around with us for a little while, and then he went on and did other, kid things that had nothing to do with being a musician. So he went and did his thing, and then I hadn't seen him in a while, and he came back by, hung out with me for a little while, showed his appreciation. It's very nice. Had a good weekend. Excellent. Nice to know somebody did. It rained all weekend here. Miserable weather. Thunderstorming. Windy. Hard rain. I got lots of jugs of water filled up, though. I've been collecting rainwater. One of those things that old homesteaders do. I figure if I collect enough of it, I'll be able to stop from getting flooded again. Oh, yeah? You think you're going to flood me? Well, I beat you to the punch. Pour all my water out. Flood the flood. That ought to do the trick, huh? Where's April at this fine evening? Is she with you? Is she by your side? It's going to be slow going, I can tell. Sunday. It's just me and you right now, buddy. That's all right, though. I'll talk to you just as quick as I'll talk to everybody. Or nobody. Sometimes I'll just talk to myself. I have done that before. It's kind of rare, but it happens. That's all right, though. I don't mind at all. I had some pizza for dinner. That was lovely. Got me a nice hot cup of coffee here. Half a cup. About drank it all. And my biggest fan. You can't see my biggest fan. Well, maybe not my biggest fan, but a fan. April is in the other room. Well, tell her to come in this room. She can't hear me from in there. So I played drums all afternoon with my buddy. We're trading back and forth. He'd do a song and I'd do a song, just playing along with the radio. It's pretty fun, though. Got to make lots of noise. I was supposed to have some people come over and help me work on my floor this afternoon, and they chickened out on me. They had an asthma attack or whatever. Couldn't do it. So I ended up doing something else. But I'll get on it tomorrow with another friend who's going to come help me. I'll get it done. About time, too. I'm about glad to get her done. It's been long enough. I want my house back. Tired of having a big hole in the floor. Or a big hole where the floor used to be. I'd like to be able to walk through the living room and go out the front door again, which I haven't been able to do in a while. But it's coming together slowly but surely. All right, peoples, where you at? Oh, we got 2. Come on, 4. We need 4. 4 is the magic number. I really hadn't done a whole lot this weekend to report. I charged up the batteries on my cameras. These are my cameras. That's a Canon and that's a DXG. Both very nice cameras. High dollar. And with them, I'm going to film tomorrow a ride-along on my motorcycle. Put that on the podcast Wednesday, hopefully. Y'all should enjoy that. Get to see the countryside. Get to ride on a Harley Davidson with yours truly. Get your motor running. Head out on the highway. Looking for adventure. And whatever come my way. Yeah, it's going to be fun. I don't know. You might like it. I don't know if you will or not. But we'll find out, won't we? It's a lovely day today. Nice and sunny all day. No rain. No rain. That was interesting. Been raining all weekend like it was the last thing that's going to happen on Earth. Then today, no rain. Nice and sunny. I might even get a little grass cutting in tomorrow. Who knows? Any excuse to ride my new Husqvarna. My Husqvarna mower. Old Husky. It's a nice one, too. It's orange. Yep, I have a Husqvarna. Yep, I can afford one. Nope, somebody gave it to me. And I fixed it. It was unrideable when I got it. It's rideable now. And I've got a Cub Cadet that I'm getting ready to work on. I'll probably sell it, though. I hadn't decided. Might get $400 or $500 out of it. I get it running good. And I've got a Murray and a Craftsman and a Snapper and a John Deere. I got a small fleet of riding mowers. Only one of them runs, though. And I got a gas-powered Honda pressure washer that I need to get fixed. It runs, but it's got something wrong with the pump. That's one I'm going to fix up. Starting to feel like a mechanic. It's not my typical job. I fix things only when they break down and I need to fix them. Rather than pay somebody else to do it, I usually do it myself. But I don't like mechanicing. My father was a mechanic and he was mean all the time. Probably something to do with busting your knuckles all the time. That'll make anybody mean. All right. We'll give it another minute and then I'll get started. Let everybody roll in from parts unknown, ways yonder, to and fro. Come on, little buddies. I'll take you all in. We'll talk some Old Testament. If you got your Bibles handy, get them open, crack them open to Deuteronomy, chapter 7, verse 1. That's where we're going to start at today. And as you know, last week we were discussing the handing off of properties to the different families and by rank and association. Hey, Diego, there's one. What's happening, brother? Good to see you. Are you back from Mexico or are you still there? Great to have you here. Anyway, we were discussing the passing of land to families and the inheritances that were given out to each family by name and by rank. And we're going to continue that today and also add a little of God's blessings in on top of it. And instructions that you will or will not follow. And if you follow, you will be blessed. And if you don't follow, you will be cursed. That's the nature of God's blessings. I'm going to be here for a month. Wow. That sounds like fun. How's it there? How's the weather? Hot? Hot and dusty? I can only imagine. I don't know much about Mexico, but every picture I've ever seen was brown. A lot of brown. Not a lot of greenery. Is it mostly desert where you're at? Maybe two. The weather is great. Oh, you might be there for 2 months. Wow. Well, don't be gone forever. We want you back. Not hot here where I am. Well, it's hot here. And I'm in North Carolina, the East Coast. I'm burning up, sweating bullets. That's all right, though. You enjoy the cool weather. But do come back. We need some bright young people in this country. Your generation is going to be running things for too long. We need some people that's got some sense. No, it's not a desert. It has a lot of forests, and it's green. Lots of fresh air and good weather. Sweet. That's a part of Mexico you don't get to see a lot. Well, take pictures. Send us some pictures. Let us see what kind of environment you grew up in. You know, where you live in Tennessee ain't that much different than where I live in North Carolina. It's about the same climate, same everything, same elevation, same forestry. All right, folks, break out your Bibles to Deuteronomy. Let me go to the small screen. Wow! I'm melting! Now, the words are already up. Look at that. And the food here is delicious. I bet it is. I like some good food. Any kind, don't matter where it's from. All right, Deuteronomy 7:1. Here we go. Tacos. Oof. When the Lord thy God shall bring thee into the land whither thou goest to possess it, and hath cast out many nations before thee, the Hittites, and the Girgashites, and the Amorites, and the Canaanites, and the Perizzites, and the Hivites, and the Jebusites, 7 nations greater and mightier than thou. And when the Lord thy God shall deliver them before thee, thou shalt smite them and utterly destroy them. Thou shalt make no covenant with them, nor show mercy unto them. Don't give them no leeway. Take it all. Neither shalt thou make marriages with them. Thy daughter thou shalt not give unto his son, nor his daughter shalt thou take unto thy son. No fraternizing. Kill them all. For they will turn away from thy son from following me, that they may serve other gods, lowercase g. So will the anger of the Lord be kindled against you and destroy thee suddenly. That means that when they start following other gods, like I'm telling you they're going to, I'm going to get a little pissed and I'm going to destroy you all, because I told you, don't be mixing with these people. They're not good people. They're not to be fraternized with. They're not like you. But thus shall ye deal with them. Ye shall destroy their altars, and break down their images, and cut down their groves, and burn their graven images with fire. For thou art an holy people unto the Lord thy God, and the Lord thy God hath chosen thee to be special people unto himself, above all people that are upon the face of the earth. That's them Jews. The Lord, that's all capital letters, they're talking about God himself, did not set his love upon you, nor choose you, because ye were more in number than any people. For ye were the fewest of all the people. But because the Lord loved you, and because he would keep the oath which he had sworn unto your fathers, hath the Lord brought you out with a mighty hand, and redeemed you out of the house of bondmen, from the hand of Pharaoh, king of Egypt. Yes, he did. He not only delivered you, but he did it in style. Nobody could do better. Believe me on that one. Know therefore that the Lord thy God, he is God, the faithful God, which keepeth covenant and mercy with them that love him, and keep his commandments to 1,000 generations, and repayeth them that hate him to their face, to destroy them. He will not be slack to him that hateth them. He will repay them to his face. In other words, he doesn't coddle no bullies. He'll stand right up in their face and give them what for. And they will take it because they have no other option. Thou shalt therefore keep the commandments and the statutes and the judgments which I command thee this day, to do them. Wherefore it shall come to pass, if ye hearken to these judgments, and keep and do them, that the Lord thy God shall keep unto thee the covenant and the mercy which he sware unto thy fathers. And he will love thee, and bless thee, and multiply thee. He will also bless the fruit of thy womb, and the fruit of thy land, thy corn, and thy wine, and thine oil, the increase of thine kine, and the flocks of thy sheep, in the land which he sware unto the fathers to give thee. Thou shalt be blessed above all people. There shall not be male or female barren among you. You're all going to have babies. Or among your cattle. Everybody's going to be pregnant. Be like, what's that guy's name? I can't think of the guy on Saturday Night Live. Everybody pregnant. Something Tracy. Anyway. And the Lord will take away from thee all sickness, and will put none of the evil diseases of Egypt, which thou knowest, upon thee. You know all about these sicknesses. You won't have any of them. But will lay them upon all that hate thee. And thou shalt consume all the people which the Lord thy God shall deliver thee. Thine eye shall have no pity upon them, neither shalt thou serve their gods, lowercase g. for that will be a snare unto thee. In other words, if you go messing around those other gods, they're going to snatch you up. They're going to trap you. That's what a snare does. It traps you. Gets you where you can't get away from it. And you don't want that. If thou shalt say in thine heart, these nations are more than I, how can I dispossess them? Thou shalt not be afraid of them, but shalt well remember that the Lord thy God did unto Pharaoh. What the Lord thy God did unto Pharaoh, and unto all Egypt, the great temptations which thine eyes saw, and the signs and the wonders and the mighty hand, and the stretched out arm, whereby the Lord thy God brought thee out. So shall the Lord thy God do unto all the people of whom thou art afraid. And moreover, the Lord thy God will send a hornet among them, until they are left, and hide themselves from thee, be destroyed. Until they that are left hide themselves from thee, be destroyed. In other words, until the people that are hiding get found and get destroyed. He'll make sure that all of them are gone. Thou shalt not be affrighted at them, for the Lord thy God is among you, a mighty God, and terrible, meaning awesome, not terrible as in bad, terrible as in awesome. And the Lord thy God will put out those nations before thee by little and little. In other words, a little at a time, they'll go away. Thou mayest not consume them at once, lest the beasts of the field increase upon thee. But the Lord thy God shall deliver them unto thee, and shall destroy them with a mighty destruction until they be destroyed. Basically, he's saying, take your time, go slowly, breed them out. Just your presence. Little by little, they'll get further and further away from their lands until they're all gone. You won't have to do much. Just be there. And he shall deliver their kings into thine hand, and thou shalt destroy their name from under the heavens, or under heaven. There shall no man be able to stand before thee until thou have destroyed them. The graven images of their lowercase gods shall ye burn with fire. Thou shalt not desire the silver or gold that is on them, nor take it unto thee, lest thou be snared therein, for it is an abomination to the Lord thy God. Remember that. That silver and gold is worthless. Neither shalt thou bring an abomination into thine house, lest thou be a cursed thing like it. But thou shalt utterly detest it, hate it with all your heart, and thou shalt utterly abhor it, for it is a cursed thing. That gold and silver that adorns their false gods. All the commandments which I command thee this day shall ye observe to do, that ye may live and multiply, and go in and possess the land which the Lord sware unto your fathers. And thou shalt remember all the way which the Lord thy God led thee these 40 years in the wilderness, to humble thee, and to prove thee, to know what was in thine heart, whether thou wouldest keep his commandments or no. And he humbled thee, and suffered thee to hunger, and fed thee with manna, which thou knewest not, neither did thy fathers know, that he might make thee know that man doth not live by bread alone. That's a sentiment Jesus would repeat. He would mirror that later in the books. But by every word that proceedeth out of the mouth of the Lord doth man live. In other words, he gives you permission to even draw a breath. You can't even do that without his permission. Thy raiment or thy clothing waxed not old upon thee, neither did thy foot swell for these 40 years. They walked for 40 years and never even got sore feet. That's pretty awesome that the Lord blessed them that much. Their clothes didn't wear out. Their shoes didn't fall apart. Their feet didn't swell. They didn't get stone bruises or anything like that. They just walked. Thou shalt also consider in thine heart that as a man chasteneth his son, so the Lord thy God chasteneth thee. In other words, he punishes you. He makes you strong. Something that's considered illegal nowadays, by the way. Can't discipline your children anymore, or you get them taken away from you. Therefore thou shalt keep the commandments of the Lord thy God, to walk in his ways and to fear him. For the Lord thy God bringeth thee into a good land, a land of brooks of water, of fountains and depths that spring out of valleys and hills, a land of wheat and barley and vines and fig trees and pomegranates, a land of olive oil, or a land of oil, olive, and honey, a land wherein thou shalt eat bread without scarceness. In other words, the bread will be plentiful. You'll never run out. Thou shalt not lack anything in it. A land whose stones are iron. That means there's plenty of minerals in the ground. Out of whose hills thou mayest dig brass. There's plenty of metals in the ground to build with. Plenty of resources. When thou hast eaten and art full, then thou shalt bless the Lord thy God for the good land which he hath given thee. Beware that thou forget not the Lord thy God, in not keeping his commandments and his judgments and his statutes, which I command thee this day, lest when thou hast eaten and art full, and hast built goodly houses, and dwelt therein, and when thy herds and thy flocks multiply, and thy silver and thy gold is multiplied, and all that thou hast is multiplied, then thine heart be lifted up, and thou forget the Lord thy God, which brought thee forth out of the land of Egypt from the house of the bondage, who led thee through the great and terrible wilderness, wherein were fiery serpents and scorpions and drought, where there was no water, who brought thee forth water out of the rock of flint, who fed thee in the wilderness with manna, which thy fathers knew not, that he might humble thee, that he might prove thee, to do thee good at thy latter end. And thou say in thine heart, my power and the might of mine hand hath gotten me this wealth. No, it has not. Your hand hadn't done anything, hardly. You really think that you're worth what you built? No, God blessed you. That's why you have it. Think about how many corners you cut. Think about how many lazy days you take. Think about how many naps you take. Think about how many days that you could be working your sweat, but you say and watch football instead. No, the Lord blessed you. Don't forget that. If you ever forget it, it's going to be a problem unto you. But thou shalt remember the Lord thy God, for it is he that giveth thee power to get wealth, that he may establish his covenant which he sware unto thy fathers, as it is this day. Always remember your father in everything that you do, because he is the reason you get to do everything you do. And it shall be, if thou do at all forget the Lord thy God, and walk after other gods, and serve them and worship them, I testify against you this day that ye shall surely perish. You won't last very long if you do that. Don't do it. Think they'll listen? As the nations which the Lord destroyeth before your face, so shall ye perish, because ye would not be obedient unto the voice of the Lord your God. Hear, O Israel, thou art to pass over Jordan this day, to go in to possess nations greater and mightier than thyself, cities great and fenced up to heaven, a people great and tall, the children of the Anakims, whom thou knowest, and of whom thou hast heard say, who can stand before the children of Anak? Understand therefore this day that the Lord thy God is he which goeth over before thee. As a consuming fire he shall destroy them, and he shall bring them down before thy face. So shalt thou drive them out, and destroy them quickly, as the Lord hath said unto thee. Speak not thou in thine heart after that the Lord thy God hath cast them out from before thee, saying, For my righteousness the Lord hath brought me in to possess this land. But for the wickedness of these nations the Lord doth drive them out from before thee. That's not why. It's not your righteousness. He chose you, but it's not because you're righteous. And he gave you this land, but it's not because of their wickedness. That's not what's going on here. They are wicked and you are blessed, but that's not what the purpose for all this is. So don't say that in your heart. Not for thy righteousness or for the uprightness of thine heart dost thou go to possess their land, but for the wickedness of these nations the Lord thy God driveth them out before thee, that he may perform the word which the Lord sware unto thy fathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. That's what this is all about. He made a promise, and he's keeping it. Understand, therefore, that the Lord thy God giveth thee not this good land to possess it for thy righteousness. For thou art a stiff-necked people. You're ignorant. You're willingly stupid. You're disobedient. You're lackluster all the way around. So no, it has nothing to do with how good you are that God's blessing you. Remember and forget not how thou provokest the Lord thy God to wrath in the wilderness, from the day that thou didst depart out of the land of Egypt until ye came into this place. Ye have been rebellious against the Lord, complaining and whining and bitterness, and seeking to overthrow God and go back to Egypt. You are a bad people, rebellious in your own very natures. So don't think for 1 second that you're being blessed because of your righteousness. Also, in Horeb, ye provoked the Lord to wrath, so that the Lord was angry with you to have destroyed you. When I was gone up into the mount to receive the tablets of stone, even the tables of the covenant which the Lord made with you, then I abode in the mount 40 days and 40 nights. I neither did eat nor break. I neither did eat bread nor drink water. And the Lord delivered unto me 2 tables of stone, written with the finger of God, and on them was written according to all the words which the Lord spake with you in the mount, out of the midst of the fire in the day of the assembly. And it came to pass at the end of 40 days and 40 nights that the Lord gave me the 2 tables of stone, even the tables of the covenant. And the Lord said unto me, Arise, and get thee down quickly from hence, for thy people, which thou hast brought forth out of Egypt, have corrupted themselves, and are quickly turned aside out of the way which I commanded them. And they have made them a molten image. While they were still in the presence of God, they could look up and see him on the top of the mountain, see the fire, see the smoke, hear the rumbling of his voice. And while they were sitting there looking at him, they were making a false god to worship here on the ground. That's how dumb these people are. Furthermore, the Lord spake unto me, saying, I have seen this people, and behold, it is a stiff-necked people. Let me alone, that I may destroy them, and blot out their names from under heaven. And I will make of thee a nation mightier and greater than they. So I turned and came down from the mount, and the mount burned with fire, and the 2 tables of the covenant were in my 2 hands. And I looked, and behold, ye had sinned against the Lord your God, and I had made you a molten calf, and ye turned aside quickly out of the way which the Lord had commanded you. And I took the 2 tables of stone, and cast them out from my 2 hands, and brake them before your eyes. You don't deserve these. Written by God's own hand, he says. And I fell down before the Lord as at the first. 40 days and 40 nights I did neither eat bread nor drink water, because of all your sins which ye had sinned, in doing wickedly in the sight of the Lord, to provoke him to anger. For I was afraid of the anger and the hot displeasure wherewith the Lord was wroth against you, to destroy you. But the Lord hearkened unto me at that time also. And the Lord was very angry with Aaron to have destroyed him. And I prayed for Aaron also the same time. And I took your sin, the calf which ye made, and burned it with fire, and stamped it, stomped on it, spit on it, peed on it, anything else I could do to show God that we didn't appreciate that. And then ground it very small, even till it was small as dust. And I cast the dust thereof into the brook that descended out of the mount. And at Taberah, and at Massah, and at Kibroth Hattaavah, ye provoked the Lord to wrath again. It seems like that's all they do. Likewise, when the Lord sent you from Kadesh Barnea, saying, Go up and possess the land which I have given you, then ye rebelled against the commandment of the Lord your God, and ye believed him not, nor hearkened unto his voice. Ye have been rebellious against the Lord from the day that I knew you. Thus I fell down before the Lord 40 days and 40 nights, as I fell down at the first, because the Lord had said he would destroy you. And I prayed therefore unto the Lord, and said, O Lord God, all capital letters, destroy not thy people and thine inheritance, which thou hast redeemed through thy greatness, which thou hast brought forth out of Egypt with a mighty hand. Remember thy servants Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Look not unto the stubbornness of this people, nor to their wickedness, nor to their sin, lest the land whence thou broughtest us out say, because the Lord was not able to bring them into the land which he promised them, and because he hated them, he hath brought them out to slay them in the wilderness. That's what he was telling. He was telling God, don't kill these people, because that's what they'll say behind your back. They'll be talking about you, and they'll say you couldn't even do it. So let's hold off on the killing them for just a little while. And God agreed. Yet they are thy people and thine inheritance, which thou broughtest out by thy mighty power and by the stretched out arm. At that time the Lord said unto me, Hew thee 2 tables of stone like unto the first, and come up to me in the mount, and make thee an ark of wood. And I will write on the tables the words that were on the first tables which thou breakest, and thou shalt put them in the ark. That would be the ark of the covenant. And I made an ark of shittim wood, and hewed 2 tables of stone like unto the first, and went up into the mount, having the 2 tables in mine hand. And he wrote on the tables according to the first writings, the 10 commandments, which the Lord spake unto you in the mount, out of the midst of the fire in the day of the assembly. And the Lord gave them unto me. And I turned myself and came down from the mount, and put the tables in the ark which I had made. And there they be, as the Lord commanded me. And that's where they are to this very day, by the way, still sitting in the Ark of the Covenant, hidden in Jeremiah's grotto in Israel, in Jerusalem. And the children of Israel took their journey from Beeroth of the children of Jachin to Moserah. There Aaron died, and there was buried. And Eleazar his son ministered in the priest's office in his stead. From thence they journeyed to Gudgoda, and from Gudgoda to Jotbath, the land of rivers of waters. At that time the Lord separated the tribe of Levi to bear the ark of the covenant of the Lord, to stand before the Lord to minister unto him, and to bless in his name unto this day. Wherefore Levi hath no part nor inheritance with his brethren. The Lord is his inheritance, according to as the Lord thy God promised him. And I stayed in the mount, according to the first time, 40 days and 40 nights. And the Lord hearkened unto me at that time also, and the Lord would not destroy thee. And the Lord said unto me, Arise, take thy journey before the people, that they may go in and possess the land which I swear unto their fathers to give unto them. And now, Israel, what doth the Lord thy God require of thee? But to fear the Lord thy God, to walk in all his ways, and to love him, and to serve the Lord thy God with all thy heart and with all thy soul, to keep the commandments of the Lord and his statutes. That's what's required of you, which I commanded thee this day for thy good. Behold, the heaven and the heaven of heavens is the Lord's thy God. The earth also with all that is therein, or all that therein is. Only the Lord had a delight in thy fathers to love them, and he chose their seed after them, even you above all people, as it is in this day. Circumcise therefore the foreskin of your heart, and be no more stiff-necked. For the Lord your God is God of gods and Lord of lords, and a great God, a mighty and a terrible, which regardeth not persons, nor taketh reward. He doth execute the judgments of the fatherless and widow, and loveth the stranger, in giving him food and raiment or clothing. Love ye therefore the stranger, for ye were strangers in the land of Egypt. Thou shalt fear the Lord thy God, him thou shalt serve, and to him thou shalt cleave, hold on to, and swear by his name. He is thy praise, and he is thy God, that hath done for thee these great and terrible things, which thine eyes have seen. Again, this word terrible means awesome, not bad. Thy fathers went down into Egypt, 70 persons, that is, 70 people. And now the Lord thy God hath made thee as the stars of heaven, of multitudes of people. He started with 70, roughly 70. And now there's more people than there are stars in heaven. That's a lot of people. Billions of them. And let me tell you what, when the Lord gets serious about something, he's serious about it. Therefore, thou shalt love the Lord thy God, and keep his charge, and his statutes, and his judgments, and his commandments always. And know ye this day, for I speak not with your children, which have not known, and which have not seen the chastisement of the Lord your God, his greatness, his mighty hand, and his stretched out arm, and his miracles, and his acts, which he did in the midst of Egypt unto Pharaoh the king of Egypt, and unto all his land, and what he did unto the army of Egypt, and unto their horses and their chariots, and how he made the water of the Red Sea to overflow them as they pursued after you, and how the Lord hath destroyed them unto this day, meaning they're no more. In case you didn't know it, the people that are in Egypt today are not the people that were in Egypt before the flood. Different people. Why? Because God utterly destroyed those people. And what he did unto you in the wilderness until you came into this place. He made you walk for 40 years until all the original people had died out and only their children remained, save 2 people. And what he did unto Dathan and Abiram, the sons of Eliab, the sons of Reuben. How the earth opened her mouth and swallowed them up, and their households, and their tents, and all the substance that was in their possession, in the midst of all Israel. But your eyes have seen all great acts of the Lord which he did. Therefore shall ye keep all the commandments which I commanded you this day, that ye may be strong, and go in and possess the land, whither ye go up to possess it, and that ye may prolong your days in the land, which the Lord sware unto your fathers to give unto them and to their seed, in the land that overfloweth with milk and honey. For the land, whither thou goest in to possess it, is not as the land of Egypt, from whence ye came out, where thou sowest thy seed, and waterest it with thy foot, as a garden of herbs. But the land whither ye go to possess is a land of hills and valleys, that drinketh water of rain from heaven, a land which the Lord thy God careth for. The eyes of the Lord thy God are always upon it, from the beginning of the year even unto the end of the year. And it shall come to pass, if ye hearken diligently unto my commandments, which I command you this day, to love the Lord your God, and to serve him with all your heart and with all your soul, that I will give you the rain of your land in his due season, the first rain and the latter rain, that thou mayest gather thy corn and thy wine and thine oil. And I will send grass in the fields for the cattle, that thou mayest eat and be full. Take heed to yourselves, that your hearts be not deceived, and ye turn aside and serve other gods, lowercase g, and worship them. And then the Lord's wrath be kindled against you, and he shut up the heavens, that there be no rain, that the land yield no fruit, not her fruit, and lest you perish quickly from off the good land which the Lord giveth you. Now, I want you to get a map and go find the Jordan River over there in the Middle East, and go up the right-hand side of it and look at all the land on that side of the Jordan. And I want you to tell me if any of it is prosperous, like is being talked about in the Bible. If it rains every day, if it has great fields and milk and honey everywhere. And I want you to tell me if it sounds like the kind of place that the Lord has blessed on a daily basis. What you're going to find is that's a war-torn region. It hardly ever rains there, and everything there is dead. Hardly anything grows there. Why is that? God just said right here that it was a prime location, land flowing with milk and honey, that his eye was on it year-round, that he made it rain when it needed to rain, and he made the sun shine when it needed to shine, that he'd fill the fields with grass for all the cattle. Yeah? Well, it don't look that way now. Why? Because of the qualifier. Lest your hearts be deceived, and you turn aside and serve other gods and worship them, and the Lord's wrath be kindled against you, and he shut up the heavens, and there be no rain, and the land yield not her fruit, lest you perish quickly from off the land which the Lord giveth you. That's what's going on. That's why it is the way it is. They had a choice. All they had to do was follow God's laws, follow his commandments, follow his statutes and judgments, and do right in the sight of God. That's it. That's all they had to do. Be a good servant, and God would have blessed them with everything. And he did for a while, but they didn't deserve it. Therefore shall ye lay up these my words in your heart and in your soul, and bind them for a sign upon your hand, that they may be as frontlets between your eyes. That's a sign that you can see. You know what I'm saying? Like headlines on a newspaper. I'm being metaphorical, but that's what he's talking about. And ye shall teach them your children, speaking of them when thou sittest in thine house, and when thou walkest by the way, and when thou liest down, and when thou risest up. And thou shalt write them upon the doorposts of thine house, and upon thy gates, that your days may be multiplied, and the days of your children in the land which the Lord sware unto your fathers to give them, as the days of heaven upon the earth. For if ye shall diligently keep all these commandments which I command you to do them, to love the Lord your God, to walk in all his ways, and to cleave unto him, then will the Lord drive out all these nations from before you, and ye shall possess greater nations and mightier than yourselves. Every place whereon the sole of your feet shall tread shall be yours, from the wilderness and Lebanon, from the river Euphrates, even unto the uttermost sea shall your coast be. Everywhere you've walked, that's yours. There shall no man be able to stand before you, for the Lord your God shall lay the fear of you and the dread of you upon all the land that ye tread upon, as he hath said unto you, Behold, I set before you this day a blessing and a curse. A blessing if ye obey the commandments of the Lord your God, which I command you this day, and a curse if ye will not obey the commandments of the Lord your God, but turn aside out of the way which I command you this day, and go after other gods, little g, which ye have not known. They're not your gods. You have no reason to go after them, so don't. The minute you do, it's over for you. The minute you do, my blessings will become curses. Keep that in mind as you go through this world, tempted of all things. And it shall come to pass, when the Lord thy God hath brought thee into the land whither thou goest to possess it, that thou shalt put the blessing upon Mount Gerizim, and the curse upon Mount Ebal. Are they not on the other side, Jordan? By the way, where the sun go down, in other words, on the west side of Jordan, in the land of the Canaanites, which dwell in the Champaign over against Gilgal. Which dwell in the Champaign? I'm not exactly sure where that's at. Must be a place. Dwell in the Champaign. It's either a place or a river. I'm not exactly sure which. I'll have to look that up later. Over against Gilgal, beside the plains of Moreh. For ye shall pass over Jordan, and go in to possess the land which the Lord your father giveth you, and ye shall possess it, and dwell therein. And ye shall observe and do all the statutes and judgments which I set before you this day. These are the statutes and judgments which ye shall observe to do in the land, which the Lord God of thy fathers giveth thee to possess it, all the days that ye live upon the earth. Ye shall utterly destroy all places wherein the nations which ye shall possess served their gods, upon the high mountains and upon the hills and under every green tree. And ye shall overthrow their altars, and break their pillars, and burn their groves with fire. And ye shall hew down the graven images of their gods, and destroy the names of them out of the place. Ye shall not do so unto the Lord your God. But unto the place which the Lord your God shall choose out of all your tribes to put his name there, even unto his habitation shall ye seek, and thither thou shalt come, and thither ye shall bring your burnt offerings, and your sacrifices, and your tithes, and heave offerings of your hand, and your vows, and your freewill offerings, and the firstlings of your herds, and of your flock. And there ye shall eat before the Lord your God, and ye shall rejoice in all that ye put your hand unto, ye and your household, wherein the Lord thy God hath blessed thee. Ye shall not do after all the things that we do here this day, every man whatsoever is right in his own eyes. For ye are not as yet come to the rest of the inheritance which the Lord your God giveth you. But when ye go over Jordan, and dwell in the land which the Lord your God giveth you to inherit, and when he giveth you rest from all your enemies round about, so that ye dwell in safety, then there shall be a place which the Lord your God shall choose to cause his name to dwell there. Thither shall ye bring all that I command you, your burnt offerings, and your sacrifices, and your tithes, and the heave offerings of your hand, and all your choice vows, which ye vow unto the Lord. And ye shall rejoice before the Lord your God, ye and your sons and your daughters, and your men servants, and your maid servants, and the Levite that is within your gates, for as much as he hath no part in your inheritance with you. Take heed to thyself that thou offer not thy burnt offerings in every place that thou seest, but in the place which the Lord shall choose in one of thy tribes. There thou shalt offer thy burnt offerings, and there shalt thou do all that I command thee. So in other words, once they get where they're going, God will pick a place for them to set up his tabernacle among one of the tribes. It's going to turn out to be in Jerusalem, but you'll see. He'll pick a place, and there they all should go there to do burnt offerings and such, not wherever they are, but they should all go to this place and do it. Notwithstanding, thou mayest kill and eat flesh in all thy gates, whatsoever thy soul lusteth after, according to the blessings of the Lord thy God, which he hath given thee. The unclean and the clean may eat thereof, as of the roebuck, and as of the hart. That means that in the land flowing with milk and honey, they're allowed to eat everything. clean and unclean as it is. A roebuck is a type of deer. Hart, H-A-R-T, I don't know what that is, but I imagine it's either some kind of animal or some kind of bird. Only ye shall not eat the blood. Ye shall pour it upon the earth as water. Still, don't eat blood. The life is in the blood. That's not food. Thou mayest not eat within thy gates the tithe of thy corn, or of thy wine, or of thy oil, or the firstlings of thy herds, or of thy flock, nor any of thy vows which thou vowest, nor thy freewill offerings, or heave offerings of thine hand. But thou must eat them before the Lord thy God in the place which the Lord thy God shall choose, thou and thy son and thy daughter and thy manservant and thy maidservant and the Levite that is within the gates. It's the third time he said that, so it's important. And thou shalt rejoice before the Lord thy God in all that thou hast putteth in thine hands unto. Take heed to thyself that thou forsake not the Levite as long as thou livest upon the earth. Don't forget about your brother Levi, because that tribe is special and they don't have a inheritance on this earth. So make sure they're taken care of and don't forget them, because their inheritance comes later. When the Lord God shall enlarge thy border, as he hath promised thee, and thou shalt say, I will eat flesh, because thy soul longeth to eat flesh. Thou mayest eat flesh, whatsoever thy soul lusteth after. If the place which the Lord thy God hath chosen to put his name there to be too far from thee, then thou shalt kill of thy herd and of thy flock which the Lord hath given thee, as I have commanded thee, and thou shalt eat in thy gates whatsoever thy soul lusteth after, even as the roebuck and the hart is eaten. So thou shalt eat them. The unclean and the clean shall eat of them alike. Only be sure that thou eat not the blood, for the blood is the life, and thou mayest not eat the life with the flesh. You hear me, people? Don't eat blood. It is not food. That is where life comes from. The life is in the blood, and you must have the blood to have life. Thou shalt not eat it. Thou shalt pour it upon the earth as water. Thou shalt not eat it, that it may go well with thee, and with thy children after thee, when thou shalt do that which is right in the sight of the Lord. Only thy holy things which thou hast, and thy vows, thou shalt take, and go unto the place which the Lord shall choose, and thou shalt offer thy burnt offerings, the flesh and blood, upon the altar of the Lord thy God, and the blood of thy sacrifices shall be poured out upon the altar of the Lord thy God, and thou shalt eat the flesh. Observe and hear all these words which I command thee, that it may go well with thee, and with thy children after thee forever, when thou doest that which is good and right in the sight of the Lord thy God. When the Lord thy God shall cut off the nations from before thee, whither thou goest to possess them, and thou shalt succeed them, and dwellest in their land. Take heed to thyself, that thou be not snared by following them. After that they be destroyed from before thee. And that thou inquire not after their gods, saying, how did these nations serve their gods? ? Even so will I do likewise. Don't do that. Thou shalt be no other gods before me. First commandment. I am the Lord thy God. Period. Remember, he doesn't like it when you follow lowercase g's. Thou shalt not do so unto the Lord thy God, for every abomination to the Lord which he hateth have they done unto their gods, for even their sons and their daughters they have burnt in the fire to their gods. Yeah, they pass babies through fire and burn them up. That's the kind of people we're talking about. Bad, bad people. What things soever I command you, observe to do it. Thou shalt not add thereto, nor diminish from it. You can't add to it. You can't take away from it. You do the thing I tell you to do, exactly like I tell you to do it. If there arise among you a prophet or a dreamer of dreams, and giveth thee a sign or a wonder, and the sign or the wonder come to pass, whereof he spake unto thee, saying, Let us go after other gods, which thou hast not known. Let us serve them. Thou shalt not hearken unto the words of that prophet or that dreamer of dreams. God didn't send him. For the Lord your God proveth you to know whether ye love the Lord or your God with all your heart and with all your soul. Ye shall walk after the Lord your God, and fear him, and keep his commandments, and obey his voice, and ye shall serve him, and cleave unto him. And that prophet or dreamer of dreams shall be put to death, because he hath spoken to turn you away from the Lord your God, which brought you out of the land of Egypt, and redeemed you out of the house of bondage, to thrust thee out of the way which the Lord thy God commanded thee to walk in. So shalt thou put the evil away from the midst of thee. Just put it away. That's all you got to do. Push it aside. Don't need that evil. If thy brother, thy son of thy mother, or thy son or thy daughter, or thy wife of thy bosom, or thy friend, which is in thine own soul, entice thee secretly, saying, Let us go and serve other gods, which thou hast not known, thou nor thy fathers, namely, of the gods of the people which are around about you, nigh unto thee, or far off from thee, from the one end of the earth even unto the other end of the earth. Thou shalt not consent unto him, nor hearken unto him, neither shall thine eye pity him, neither shalt thou spare, neither shalt thou conceal him, but thou shalt surely kill him. Thine hand shall be first upon him to put him to death, and afterwards the hands of all the people. They should kill him twice, repeatedly. It's bad news. Even your best friend, you can't let them entice you away from God. And thou shalt stone him with stones that he die, because he hath sought to thrust thee away from the Lord your God, thy God, which brought thee out of the land of Egypt from the house of bondage. And all Israel shall hear and fear, and shall do no more any such wickedness as this among you. That means you only have to kill one or two of them, and then everybody else will get the message. And all Israel shall hear and fear, and shall do no more any such wickedness as this is among you. If thou shalt hear say in one of the cities which the Lord thy God hath given thee to dwell therein, saying, Certain men, children of Belial, that's a bad guy, are gone out from among you, and have withdrawn the inhabitants of their cities, saying, Let us go and serve other gods, which ye have not known. Then shalt thou inquire, and make search, and ask diligently, and behold, if it be truth, and the thing certain, meaning, if you can prove that they're actually saying this and somebody's not just pulling your leg, that such abomination is wrought among you. Thou shalt surely smite the inhabitants of that city with the edge of the sword, destroying it utterly, and all that is therein, and the cattle thereof with the edge of the sword. And thou shalt gather all the spoil of it unto the midst of the street thereof, and shalt burn it with fire in the city, and all the spoil thereof every whit for the Lord thy God. And it shall be an heap forever. It shall not be built again. That's the town. The whole city should be burnt into a heap, kind of like Gomorrah and Sodom. And nothing shall ever be built there again. And to this very day, nothing has been in Sodom and Gomorrah. It's ash, right to this day. I can take you right to it. It's nothing but ash and sulfur. Nothing grows there. Nothing's alive there. It's a ghost town. April, you weren't with Kevin this weekend? That's a weird thing to ask somebody you live with. Either way, happy to see you. And there shall cleave naught of the cursed thing to thine hand. You don't get to keep any of it. And the Lord may turn from the fierceness of his anger, and show thee mercy, and have compassion upon thee, and multiply thee, as he hath sworn unto thy fathers, when thou shalt hearken to the voice of the Lord thy God, to keep his commandments, which I command thee this day to do, that which is right in the eyes of the Lord thy God. Hear, ye are the children of the Lord your God. Ye shall not cut yourselves, nor make any baldness between your eyes for the dead. For thou art an holy people unto the Lord thy God, and the Lord hath chosen thee to be peculiar people unto himself. Above all the nations that are upon the earth, thou shalt not eat any abominable thing. These are the beasts which ye shall eat, the ox, the sheep, and the goat, and the hart, and the roebuck, and the fallow deer, and the wild goat, and the pig, and the wild ox, and the cameos. I don't know what a cameos or a pygard is, but I bet they're tasty. And every beast that parteth the hoof, and cleaveth the cleft into the two claws, and cheweth the cud among the beasts, that ye shall eat. So if it has a hoof, a split hoof, and it chews the cud, or it has two claws, you can eat it. If it don't, you can't eat it. Same thing with fish. If it has fins and scales, you can eat it. If it don't, you can't. Nevertheless, these ye shall not eat of them that chew the cud, or of them that divide the cloven hoof, as the camel, and the hare, and the coney, for they chew the cud, but divide not the hoof, for they are unclean unto you. So they got to have both. They got to have the cloven hoof and chew the cud. You can't have one or the other. And the swine, that's the pigs, because it divideth the hoof, yet cheweth not the cud. It is unclean unto you. Ye shall not eat of their flesh, nor touch their dead carcasses. He was here earlier. These ye shall eat of all that are in the waters. All that have fins and scales shall ye eat. See there? And whatsoever hath not fins and scales, ye may not eat. It is unclean to you. Of all clean birds ye shall eat. But these are they of which ye shall not eat: the eagle, and the ostrich, and the osprey, and the gled, and the kite, and the vulture after his kind. That's buzzards, vultures, anything that scavenges. And every raven after his kind, and the owl, and the nighthawk, and the cuckoo, and the hawk after his kind, the little owl, and the great owl, and the swan. These are unclean animals. And the pelican, and the gier eagle, and the cormorant, and the stork, and the heron after his kind, and the lapwing, and the bat. Don't eat bats. You'll get coronavirus. And every creeping thing that flieth is unclean unto you. They shall not be eaten. I'll repeat that because there's a push on television today to get people to start eating bugs. Remember that? Have you seen that? They're trying to get people to eat like cicadas and other critters. Everything that creepeth, that flieth, is unclean unto you. They shall not be eaten. But of all clean fowls you may eat. That's birds, not bugs. If it creeps, you shouldn't eat it. Ye shall not eat of anything that dieth of itself. If you didn't kill it, you don't eat it. Thou shalt give it unto the stranger that is in thy gates, that he may eat it. Or thou mayest sell it unto an alien. See, aliens are real. I just proved it. It's in the Bible. Yeah, he's around somewhere, April. I don't know where he's at either, but I bet he's fixing something. You can sell dead things to aliens that died of themselves. Obviously, they're talking about people who come from other countries, but the word's in the Bible, so there you go. For thou art an holy people unto the Lord thy God, and thou shalt not seethe a kid in his mother's milk. In other words, no veal. Thou shalt truly tithe all the increase of thy seed that the field bringeth forth year by year. And thou shalt eat before the Lord thy God in the place which he shall choose to place his name there. The tithe of thy corn, of thy wine, and of thine oil, and of thy firstlings of thy herd, and of thy flocks, and thou mayest learn to fear the Lord thy God always. There he is. Aliens could mean alias. Nope. It's alien. He's talking about a foreign alien, like somebody from another country, not from another world. I just thought it was funny. That's all. And if the way be too long for thee, if it takes too long for you to get to where God chooses his place, so that thou art not able to carry it, you can't carry all the stuff there, or if the place be too far from thee, which the Lord thy God shall choose to set his name there, when the Lord thy God hath blessed thee, then shalt thou turn it into money, and bind up the money in thine hand, and thou shalt go unto the place which the Lord thy God shall choose, and thou shalt bestow that money for whatsoever thy soul lusteth after, for oxen, or for sheep, or for wine, or for strong drink, or for whatsoever the soul desireth. And thou shalt eat there before the Lord thy God, and thou shalt rejoice, thou and thine household, and the Levite that is within thy gates. Thou shalt not forsake him. Don't forget your Levite, for he hath no part nor inheritance with thee. His inheritance comes later. At the end of 3 years, thou shalt bring forth all the tithe of thine increase the same year, and shalt lay it up within thy gates. And the Levite, because he hath no part nor inheritance with thee, and the stranger, and the fatherless, and the widow, which are within thy gates, shall come, and shall eat and be satisfied, that the Lord thy God may bless thee in all the works of thine hand which thou doest. At the end of every 7 years thou shalt make a release. And this is the manner of the release. Every creditor that lendeth aught unto his neighbor shall release it. He shall not exact it from his neighbor or of his brother, because it is called the Lord's release. That's every 7 years. If you hadn't paid your debt, you're released. For of a foreigner thou mayest exact it again. But that which is thine with thy brother, thine hand shall release, save when there shall be no poor among you. For the Lord shall greatly bless thee in the land which the Lord thy God giveth thee for an inheritance unto possess it. Only if thou carefully hearken unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to observe to do all these commandments which I command thee this day. If you do that stuff, you will be blessed. For the Lord thy God blesseth thee, as he promised thee. And thou shalt lend unto many nations, but thou shalt not borrow. Don't partake in usury. Thou shalt reign over many nations, but thou shalt not reign over thee. They shall not reign over thee. If there be among you a poor man of one of thy brethren within any of thy gates in the land which the Lord thy God giveth thee, thou shalt not harden thine heart, nor shut thine hand from thy poor brother. But thou shalt open thine hand wide unto him, and thou shalt surely lend him sufficient for his need, in that which he wanteth. Needs? Nope. Wants. In other words, you take care of your brother if he's poor. Take care of him with zeal and enjoy taking care of him. Give him everything he wants. If you have it and he needs it, make sure he has it. That's a good way to treat your brother. You should remember that, whether you're Jewish or not. Beware that there be not the thought in thy wicked heart, saying, the 7th year, the year of release is at hand, and thine eye be evil against thy poor brother, and thou givest him not, and he cry unto the Lord against thee, and it be a sin unto thee. In other words, if he tattles on you for not helping him out in the year of the release, God's going to get you. Don't make your brother tattle on you. Thou shalt surely give him, and thine heart shall not be grieved when thou givest unto him. Because that for this thing the Lord thy God shall bless thee in all thy works, and in all that thou puttest thine hand unto. How many people you think follow this rule? Because those people are blessed. Everything they touch turns to gold. For the poor shall never cease out of the land. There will always be poor people. Therefore I command thee, saying, Thou shalt open thine hand wide unto thy brother the poor, and unto thy needy in the land. And if thy brother, an Hebrew man or an Hebrew woman, be sold unto thee, and serve thee 6 years, then in the 7th year thou shalt let him go free from thee. To get 6 years out of him, and on the 7th year turn him loose. When thou sendest him out from thee free, thou shalt not let him go away empty. Thou shalt furnish him liberally out of thy flock, and out of thy floor, and out of thy winepress. Of that wherewith the Lord thy God hath blessed thee, thou shalt give unto him. And thou shalt remember that thou wast a bondsman in the land of Egypt, and the Lord thy God redeemed thee. Therefore I command thee this thing today. So that's a good thing to think about. You were once a slave yourself. So when you have a slave, if you've been blessed with one, let him work for you for 6 years, but on the 7th year, fill him up and send him on his way free, a free man. And do it liberally. Give him plenty, so much so that he has trouble carrying it all. Because the Lord blessed you with all of that, and he'll keep on blessing you with all of that. This man he didn't bless, so you bless him. He's your responsibility. You're the one that owns him. So set him free and take care of him. Now do that with your friends too, and your neighbors, and people that you see have need. Give liberally if the Lord has blessed you. Because he didn't bless everybody equally. But he did leave a provision in his commandments to take care of that, if people will listen to it. And it might say, well, why did he do that? Why didn't he just bless everybody? Maybe it's so that he could teach us stiff-necked people how to give a little blessings. Maybe he figures if he gives us the responsibility of blessing people, some of us might actually do it. It's just a thought, but it's possible. And it shall be, if he say unto thee, I will not go away from thee, because he loveth thee and thine house, because he is well with thee, then thou shalt take an awl, that's a ice pick, and thrust it through his ear unto the door, pinning him to the door. And he shall be thy servant forever. And also unto thy maidservants thou shalt do likewise. In other words, put an earring in their ear, pierce their ear. This is the sign of a laborer, somebody that belongs to the house. They wear an earring. It is symbolic to pin them to the door, meaning they are part of the house now. But it's got to be his decision or her decision. They've got to want to stay in your employ. They've got to feel comforted in your homestead. They've got to feel well taken care of, and they don't want to get out there in the hard world. They'd rather stay here and serve you. They have everything they need here. It's their choice. Then they'll be a servant forever. Those people, not their children or whatever. But on that 7th year, you are to offer them their freedom. If they take it, then let them have it. They earned it. They worked for you for 6 years. They earned it. We don't have servants in this world anymore, in this world that we live in, America. We do, but we call them employees. And we think that by giving them a little money that makes them not slaves. But they also don't have to treat you like a servant if you're an employee either. It shall not seem hard unto thee when thou sendest him away free from thee, for he hath been worth a double hired servant to thee, in serving thee 6 years. I just said that. He earned it. And the Lord thy God shall bless thee in all that thou doest. All the firstling males that come of thy herd and of thy flock, thou shalt sanctify unto the Lord thy God. Thou shalt do no work with the firstlings of the bullock, nor shear the firstlings of the sheep. Thou shalt eat it before the Lord thy God year by year in the place which the Lord shall choose, thou and thy household. In other words, you go once a year and have a big cookout. And you bring the best food you got to that cookout. And if there be any blemish therein, as if it be lame or blind or hath any ill blemish, thou shalt not sacrifice it unto the Lord thy God. It needs to be blameless and blemishless. Thou shalt eat it within thy gates. The unclean and the clean person shall eat it alike, as the roebuck and as the hart. Only thou shalt not eat of the blood thereof. Thou shalt pour it upon the ground as water. That's the third time he said that. It's very important. Notice that things that are very important, he says 3 times or more. There's a reason he's repeating himself, and it's not just to be repetitive. It's to drill it into your head, to make you hear it. Observe the month of Abib, and keep the Passover unto the Lord thy God. For in the month of Abib, that's the first month, the Lord thy God brought thee forth out of Egypt by night. Thou shalt therefore sacrifice the Passover unto the Lord thy God of the flock of the herd in the place which the Lord shall choose to put his name there. Thou shalt eat no leavened bread with it. 7 days shalt thou eat unleavened bread therewith, even the bread of the affliction, the bread of affliction. For thou camest forth out of the land of Egypt in haste. You didn't have time to leaven it and rise the bread, so you made flat bread, that thou mayest remember the day when thou camest forth out of the land of Egypt, all the days of thy life. Remember it forever. And there shall be no leavened bread seen with thee in all thy coasts for 7 days. Neither shall there be anything of the flesh which thou sacrificedest. That's a hard word to say. Sacrificedest. The first day at evening. Remain all night until morning. Thou mayest not sacrifice the Passover within any of thy gates which the Lord thy God giveth thee, but at the place which the Lord thy God shall choose to place his name in, there thou shalt sacrifice the Passover at evening. And the going down of the sun at the season that thou camest forth out of Egypt. And thou shalt roast and eat it in the place which the Lord thy God shall choose, and thou shalt turn in the morning and go unto thy tents. 6 days thou shalt eat unleavened bread, and on the 7th day there shall be a solemn assembly to the Lord thy God. Thou shalt do no work therein. 7 weeks shalt thou number unto thee. Begin to number the 7 weeks from such time as thou beginnest to put the sickle to the corn. That means whenever the harvest begins, that's when you start counting for 7 weeks. And thou shalt keep the feast of weeks unto the Lord thy God with a tribute of freewill offerings of thine hand, which thou shalt give unto the Lord thy God according to as the Lord thy God hath blessed thee. And thou shalt rejoice before the Lord thy God, thou and thy son, and thy daughter, and thy manservant, and thy maidservant, and the Levite within thy gates, and the stranger, and the fatherless and the widows, that are among you in the place which the Lord thy God hath chosen to place his name there. And thou shalt remember that thou wast a bondsman in Egypt, and thou shalt observe and do these statutes. Thou shalt observe the Feast of Tabernacles 7 days. After that, thou hast gathered in thy corn and thy wine, and thou shalt rejoice in thy feast, thou and thy son and thy daughter and thy manservant and thy maidservant, and the Levite, and the stranger and the fatherless and the widow that are within thy gates. There he says it. This is the second set of 3 times he said this. 7 days thou shalt keep a solemn feast unto the Lord thy God in the place which the Lord shall choose, because the Lord thy God shall bless thee in all thine increase, and in all the works of thine hands. Therefore thou shalt surely rejoice. 3 times in a year shall all thy males appear before the Lord thy God in the place which he shall choose, in the feast of unleavened bread, and in the feast of 2 weeks, and in the feast of the tabernacles. That's 3 different feasts, 3 times a year. And they shall not appear before the Lord empty, for every man shall give as he is able, according to the blessing of the Lord thy God, which he hath given thee. Judges and officers shalt thou make thee in all thy gates, which the Lord thy God giveth thee throughout thy tribes. And they shall judge the people with just judgment. You think they still do? I don't. I think they couldn't get more unjust these days. Thou shalt not wrest judgment. That means you shouldn't pull away from judgment. Rest as in wrestle, not rest as in sleep. You shouldn't wrestle with judgment. Thou shalt not respect persons, neither take a gift. Don't get bribed. For a gift doth blind the eyes of the wise, and pervert the words of the righteous. That which is altogether just shalt thou follow, that thou mayest live and inherit the land which the Lord thy God giveth thee. Thou shalt not plant thee a grove of any trees near unto the altar of the Lord thy God, which thou shalt make thee, neither shalt thou set thee up any image which the Lord thy God hateth. That includes the crucifix, by the way. No images. God doesn't like that sort of thing. He doesn't need a big cross in the front yard. Everybody knows who God is in their heart. They don't need an image to prove who he is or to worship. Worship God. He's good enough. Thou shalt not sacrifice unto the Lord thy God any bullock or sheep wherein is blemish, or any evil favoredness. For that is an abomination unto the Lord thy God. Evil favoredness. Evil favoredness. There's a new word. If there be found among you within any of thy gates, which the Lord thy God giveth thee, a man or woman that hath wrought wickedness in the sight of the Lord thy God, in transgressing his covenant, and hath gone and served other gods and worshipped them, either the sun or the moon, or any of the host of heaven, which I have not commanded, and it be told thee, and thou hast heard of it, and inquired diligently, and behold, it be true. That don't mean if you hear a rumor. That means if you hear a rumor and then you do your due diligence and prove it, meaning 3 witnesses, if it's true that the thing certain that such abomination is wrought within Israel, then shalt thou bring forth that man or that woman which have committed that wicked thing unto thy gates. Even that man or that woman shalt thou stone them with stones till they die. That's what you do with people that worship other gods. At the mouth of 2 witnesses or 3 witnesses, shall he that is worthy of death be put to death. But at the mouth of one witness he shall not be put to death. You understand? Lots of people can run their mouth. You need 3 witnesses. You can do it with 2, but they better be really good witnesses. The hands of the witnesses shall be first upon him to put him to death. Oh, the witness don't just get to run their mouth. They actually have to throw the stones first. So if you want to witness, be prepared to have to kill somebody. That's how serious it must be. You understand? You're not just running your mouth. You're condemning someone to death, and you must participate. So you must be certain that what you're telling is the truth. And afterwards the hands of all the people. So thou shalt put the evil away from among you. If you do it this way, those evil things will stop happening, because nobody wants to be stoned to death for any reason. If there arise a matter too hard for thee in judgment, between blood and blood, between plea and plea, between stroke and stroke, being matters of controversy within thy gates, then thou shalt arise and get thee up into the place which the Lord thy God shall choose, and thou shalt come unto the priests, the Levites, and unto the judge that shall be in those days, and inquire. And they shall show thee the sentence of judgment, and thou shalt do according to the sentence which they of that place which the Lord shall choose shall show thee. And thou shalt observe to do according to all that they inform thee, according to the sentence of the law which they shall teach thee, and according to the judgment which they shall tell thee, thou shalt do. Thou shalt not decline from the sentence which they shall show thee to the right hand nor to the left, meaning you can't run away from it. The man that will do presumptuously, and will not hearken unto the priest that standeth to minister there before the Lord thy God, or unto the judge, even that man shall die, and thou shalt put away the evil from Israel. And all the people shall hear and fear, and do no more presumptuously. Seems simple enough, doesn't it? When thou art come unto the land which the Lord thy God giveth thee, and shalt possess it, and shalt dwell therein, and shalt say, I will set a king over me, like as all the nations that are about me. Thou shalt in any wise set him king over thee, whom the Lord thy God shall choose. One from among thy brethren shalt thou set king over thee. Thou mayest not set a stranger over thee, which is not thy brother. Now, whose idea was it to have a king? Did God say you should have a king? No, God wants to be your king. It was man's idea to have a man king, somebody they can see, somebody they can talk to it whenever they want to. That was their idea. God just agreed to it. It was not his idea. So all you naysayers and atheists out there who try to blame God for the government situation that we have, know that it was not his idea. He just let man do what man does. God didn't want a king over men. He wanted to be king over men. And so he says, if you're going to have a king, then it must be one of your brothers. You can't set a stranger up. It has to be among the 12 tribes. And we can pick them however you want to, but it has to be one of them. But he shall not multiply horses to himself, nor cause the people to return to Egypt, to the end that he should multiply horses. For as much as the Lord hath said unto you, ye shall henceforth return no more that way. You can't go back to Egypt. It's done. Neither shall he multiply wives to himself, that his heart turn not away, neither shall he greatly multiply to himself silver and gold. Do you think kings have kept this rule? Sounds like everything kings do, doesn't it? So the kings didn't keep this commandment, which is probably why they're in the situations they're in. And notice we don't have any prominent kings anymore. There's a few still scraggled around, but they're in third world countries. None of the big places have kings anymore because of this very thing. See, God said, if you're going to be king, then you don't get to be rich too. And they didn't like that very much. So, take that for as you will. And it shall be, when he sitteth upon the throne of his kingdom, that he shall write him a copy of the law and a book out of that which is before the priests and the Levites. And it shall be with him, and he shall read therein all the days of his life, of the law. He should read the law every day of his life, that he may learn to fear the Lord his God, to keep all the words of this law and these statutes, to do them, that his heart be not lifted up above his brethren, that he turn not aside from the commandment to the right hand or to the left, to the end that he may prolong his days in his kingdom, he and his children in the midst of Israel. Do you think that the kings kept that rule? They did not, which is why they ended up where they are. The priests, the Levites, and all the tribe of Levi shall have no part nor inheritance with Israel. They shall eat the offerings of the Lord made by fire as his inheritance. They'll always have food. Therefore shall they have no inheritance among their brethren. The Lord is their inheritance, as he hath said unto them. And this shall be the priest's due from the people, from them that offer a sacrifice, whether it be ox or sheep. And they shall give unto the priest the shoulder, and the 2 cheeks, and the maw. The first fruit also of thy corn, of thy wine, of thine oil, and of the first of the fleece of the sheeps shalt thou give him, for the Lord thy God hath chosen him out of all thy tribes to stand to minister in the name of the Lord, him and his sons forever. And if a Levite come from any of thy gates out of all Israel, where he sojourned, and come with all the desire of his mind unto the place which the Lord shall choose, then he shall minister in the name of the Lord his God, as all his brethren the Levites do, which stand there before the Lord. They shall have like portions to eat, besides that which cometh of the sale of patrimony. The sale of his patrimony. Patrimony. Patrimony? Patriarchy? Patrimony. Ceremony? Patrimony. When thou art come into the land which the Lord thy God giveth thee, thou shalt not learn to do after the abomination of those nations. There shall not be found among you any one that maketh his son or his daughter to pass through the fire, or that useth divination, that's to speak to ghosts, or speak to spirits to find out what the truth of the future is, or an observer of times, or an enchanter, or a witch. None of these things should be before you, or a charmer, or a consulter with familiar spirits, that's one who speaks to spirits, or a wizard, or a necromancer. Necromancers deal with dead things. They bring dead things back to life. For all that do these things are an abomination unto the Lord. And because of these abominations, the Lord thy God doth drive them out from before thee, thou shalt be perfect with the Lord thy God. For these nations which thou shalt possess hearken unto observers of time and unto diviners. But as for thee, the Lord thy God hath not suffered thee to do so. Here's two more charges against him. They pass their children through fire, they worship false gods, they observe the times, and they talk to diviners. That's what these people are. They are evil in the sight of God, and they have no business being there, which is why God is driving them out and giving their land to God's chosen people. This is not evil God of the Old Testament, full of vengeance and hate. This is a merciful God giving land to people who deserve it, taking it away from people who chose to not follow his ways. Notice who the people are who are getting booted before you go calling God names for booting them. For these nations which thou shalt possess hearken. I read that already. The Lord thy God will raise up unto thee a prophet from the midst of thee, of thy brethren, like unto me. Unto him ye shall hearken. That would be Samuel. According to all that thou desirest of the Lord thy God in Horeb in the day of the assembly, saying, let me not hear again the voice of the Lord my God, neither let me see this great fire any more, that I die not. And the Lord said unto me, they have well spoken that which they have spoken. I will rise up a prophet from among their brethren, like unto thee, like Moses, and will put my words in his mouth, and he shall speak unto them all that I shall command him. And it shall come to pass that whosoever will not hearken unto my words, which he shall speak in my name, I will require it of him. But the prophet which shall presume to speak a word in my name, which I have not commanded him to speak, or that shall speak in the name of other gods, even that prophet shall die. And that, my friends, is taking the Lord's name in vain, to speak for God when God did not tell you to do so. That's taking the Lord's name in vain, in case you wondered what that meant. That's what it means. And if thou say in thine heart, how shall we know the word which the Lord hath not spoken? When a prophet speaketh in the name of the Lord, if the thing follow not, nor come to pass, that is the thing which the Lord hath not spoken. But the prophet hath spoken presumptuously, thou shalt not be afraid of him. In other words, if God tells a man to say something and he says it, that thing that he says is going to happen almost immediately afterwards. It's not something you're going to have to wonder about. It's not like Nostradamus where you're hunting and pecking and trying to find things that add up. No. If God says the sky's about to fall, you can look up. It's about to fall. When the Lord thy God hath cut off the nations, whose land the Lord thy God giveth thee, and thou succeedest them, and dwellest in their cities and in their houses, thou shalt separate 3 cities for 3 in the midst of thy land, which the Lord thy God giveth thee to possess it. Thou shalt prepare thee a way, and divide the coasts of thy land, which the Lord thy God giveth thee to inherit, into 3 parts. Every slayer may flee there, or thither. That's people who commit murder. And this is the case of the slayer, which shall flee thither, that he may live. Whoso killeth his neighbor ignorantly, whom he hated not in times past. As when a man goeth into the wood with his neighbor to hew wood, and his hand fetcheth a stroke with the axe to cut down the tree, and the head slippeth from the helve, and lighten upon the neighbor that he die. That means that you killed your neighbor by accident. He shall flee unto one of these cities and live. Lest the stranger of the blood pursue the slayer. The avenger of the blood, lest the avenger of the blood pursue the slayer, whilst his heart is hot, and overtake him, because the way is long, and slay him, whereas he was not worthy of death, inasmuch as he hated him not in times past. Wherefore I command thee, saying, Thou shalt separate thee 3 cities for thee. In other words, if in those days a lot of accidents happened, they didn't have OSHA, and they didn't have guidelines or regulations in those days, so things happened. And if you killed a man by accident, if you dropped something on his head, or if you tripped and pushed him into a den of lions or something like that, you had a place to go so that the person who avenged his blood couldn't find you. Because if he found you, he would surely kill you because he was mad about you killing his whoever. So now you've got a place for refuge. However, if it's found out that you did it on purpose, you'll be sent out to the avenger and he'll get his pound of flesh. And if the Lord thy God enlarge thy coast, as he hath sworn unto thy fathers, and give thee all the land which he promised to give unto thy fathers, if thou shalt keep all these commandments to do them, which I command thee this day, to love the Lord thy God, and to walk ever in his ways, then shalt thou add 3 more cities for thee, beside these 3. So now you got 6 cities. That's a lot of criminals. Just saying. That innocent blood be not shed in thy land, which the Lord thy God giveth thee for an inheritance, and so blood be upon thee. And that's where we're stopping for today, folks. We'll pick back up next Sunday on 1911. Come on. Yeah. See, I could highlight it that day for whatever reason. Who knows? Computers are weird. And that's that. Won't you take a moment, please, and hit that subscribe button and press that bell icon so you get notifications of when I'm going to be here. Smash that like button. Come on, it's free. Just reach out and touch it. It's right in front of you. Just reach out and touch it. Just touch it. Just once. Just touch it. Come on, touch it. You know you want to touch it. That like button. Leave a comment down below and share this video. Question me, curse me, bless me, challenge me, confront me. Confront yourself. As long as you're thinking, that's what I want. Critical thought coming from your brain. Share this video with somebody you love. Better yet, share it with somebody you don't love. Bring them into the family. Make them part of the fold. Be part of the solution, not part of the problem. And most important, if you love this ministry and you think that we're doing God's work and you'd like to see us keep doing it and you want to be part of it, you want to make us grow, won't you take a moment, go to paypal.me/JakeJohnsonBand. Every little bit helps. It's a win-win. It's a blessing for me. It's a blessing for you too. And God notices these things. I promise he does. And with that, I greatly appreciate your help and support. I will take your questions and comments. But remember,
BJ, now I lay me down to sleep. Pray the Lord,
what else do you do when you have your own theme song? You play it.
If I die before I wake, BJ, my best friend, right through it all.
Don't you forget it. Say it loud and say it proud. What are you going to do?
If I die before I wake,
DJ. That's right. All right, everybody. Lots of interesting things in the book of Deuteronomy. You sing great. You sing great, B. Jake. Thank you, sir. Greatly appreciate the confidence. Great reading today, Jake. Thank you. Yep, I'm trying. Sometimes I get a little sleepy when I'm reading because I'm, eyes go cross-eyed, but I'm working on it. If I die before I wake, feed Jake. I ain't singing too good these days, though. I've got scar tissue in my lungs or something. I hadn't been right since I got sick last year from the you-know-what. I'm pretty sure of it. I didn't get diagnosed or anything, but it was about a month before they started talking about it on the news. And I got really sick, and I felt strange. I didn't feel like normal sick. And I had trouble breathing. I was wheezing a lot. And then ever since then, I've had trouble breathing and talking. So whatever that sickness was did in my lungs, I guess. I noticed once again that Deuteronomy repeats many things that we have read in Exodus and Numbers. Deuteronomy is a second law. My friend who is an Orthodox Jew loves this book. Awesomeness. Well, it's a repeating of the law. It's the same law. It's not a separate law. It's the same law. He's just fortifying it. Things have changed a little since those times. They've gone a long way since the tabernacle in the wilderness, and now they're reaching their own lands. They're crossing over Jordan as we speak into their own lands, which they're going to have to fight for and rid the land of the people that are there. So things are changing a little, which means that certain things need to be adjusted as they go. But that's okay, and Deuteronomy is a good job of laying it out and all the things that God expects of those people and tells them very clearly what they should not do. Now, I would beseech you to notice every time the Bible seems to repeat itself, because when it repeats itself, that thing is very important. It's part of the God's word. If you wrote down everything that was repeated 3 times in the Bible, you'd have a separate book that looked like a Bible unto itself, and it would get straight to the point. These are the important things. Remember that Jews consider the Pentateuch as the law. Well, yeah, it is the law. I'll go back and watch what I missed, says April. I know you will, honey. Thank you for coming, period. Moses is a key figure in salvation history. Yes. I believe he speaks throughout this book a lot. Yes, he does. It's basically him talking to the people. This is basically Moses' last stand because he does not get to go into the promised land with them, but he's sending them off. So this is basically his goodbye. None of these things ever applied to us. You need to understand that. You have this same problem that many other people have, and that is rightly dividing the Word of God. You need to understand that anything Moses taught to the Jews and the other 11 tribes were for them specifically. At this time, Jews and Gentiles were different peoples. And at this time, they thought of God as their God, not the Gentiles' gods. That wasn't until Paul. Paul is the one that made God open for all the Gentiles. These rules are for the 12 tribes of Israel, period. It's not for anyone else, just them. You should follow the 10 Commandments, and you should follow the laws of God, because they make good common sense, but they're not required of you. Jesus Christ told you what was required of you, and Paul tells you what's required of you. What does Deuteronomy mean? I guess I could look it up. Well, I'll help you there. Deuteronomy, the 5th book of the Bible, containing a recapitulation of the Ten Commandments and much of the Mosaic Law. See, it's the same law, the definition of Deuteronomy. Here are all the possible meanings and translations of the word Deuteronomy, the fifth book of the Old Testament. Contains a second statement of the Mosaic Law, the fifth book of Moses in the Old Testament of the Bible, the fifth book of the Torah. That's it. That's what it means. Deuteronomy. Let's see what Webster says. I doubt you're going to get better than that, though. The fifth book of the canonical Jewish and Christian scriptures containing a narrative of Mosaic laws. Deuteronomy, from the Latin Deuteronomium, from Greek Deuteronomion, and from the Greek word deuter, which means law. So it's the book of law. That's what it means. It doesn't say that specifically, but that's what the word loosely translates. The word deuter means law. And so there you have it. Sports fans, that's the word Deuteronomy, and it means law book. Because we are no longer under the law, but under the grace of Jesus Christ. You're kind of right and you're kind of wrong. We've always been under the law, and we always will be. Christ did not come to change the law, not one jot or tittle of it, but to fulfill it, to make it whole. You understand? It's still here. It still applies. He just completed it. There are no contradictions in Scripture. That's correct. It's God's Word. That's also correct. April says, oh, I got you. Deuteronomy is a Greek word. It means second law. Deutero means second. And nami means law. Close. The word deuter means law, but you got it. You got the idea. But yes, it's the book of the law, much like the two tables of stone. You could call those Deuteronomy also. Remember Mark David Hall? I do. How could I forget? It was last week. What about him? I thought I put that to bed. Yes. What about Mark David Hall? I forgot to mention that he also has a book that rips the attorney's book to shreds even more in depth than the article we read together. Well, I'm not reading the whole book. He is a distinguished professor of law and religious history in the U.S. Cool. I think we sufficiently took care of the other guy. The truth of the matter is atheists don't have a leg to stand on, so there's no point in continuing to kick a dead horse. Let's just Move on with learning God's word and forget about the silly people in the world. There's enough of that going on already. And I'm about tired of it myself. I remember when God was the important thing. It don't seem to be that way anymore, but we need to work to turn that back around. And make God the focal point. I think that's the best way to go about it. 1 or 2 days a week is not too much to ask to think about God. I don't think, anyway. As much as He gives us on a daily basis, it's worth at least 2 days. Should be doing it 7 days a week, but I don't have that kind of energy. I wish I did. Amen, Jake. I barely got enough energy to do what I got to do, let alone the extra stuff. We sure got old fast. Yes, we did. So tomorrow, I'm going to do a little ride along on the motorcycle and film it. Starting with schools. What we need to do is burn all of them to the ground and start homeschooling our kids. Metaphorically speaking, of course. Christopher Hitchens was a kook. Many atheists today love him and have as a model for Bible basher and God hater. Well, good for them. I don't care. I was listening to a debate between him and Dr. William Lang Craig. I've heard of that guy. Churches and all counties should put God back into our school systems. Yes, they should. I wish they did. But they're not likely to. They're going the other way. So we need to take our kids out of those schools. And if enough of us do that, they'll have no choice but to turn around. Because there won't be no kids there. If there's enough smart parents. I know that I wanted to get my kids out of school. I was just too late. They had already sunk their teeth in before I even knew it was happening. Poor Hitchens, he was ripped to shreds by Dr. Craig. That was his last debate before his death. Well, he knows now, don't he? He knows now. Ain't no doubt in his mind now who God is. I promise you that. And that's something I've always thought about. All these people that spend so much energy fighting against God, and when they die, they find out who He is. Yeah, well, they've succeeded, I would say. That's downright the devil's playground right there. That's a touchy subject with me. Because that's how I lost my children. Right from the school that I sent them to. Over some ungodly stuff. Which is why I'm now clinging more so towards God. Because in this day and time, that's what you have to do. They're promoting hate and contempt towards God's word and promoting anti-God ideas and evil ideologies. Yes, they are. And there's a special place in hell for those kind of people, I promise you that. Unfortunately, though, they get free reign on earth. We just have to endure it for a little while, though. But good comes to those who fight the good fight. That's why it's important for us to cling to this ministry and to make it grow. Because the more people we touch, the closer we become to being members of that good fight, being soldiers in that good fight. And that's what all of us should aspire to be. There's not one greater than the other. We all have to do some swinging, because that's what got us in this place in the first place. Parents who didn't want their children's lives to be as hard as theirs were, so they slacked up on them and gave them free reign and took care of everything, and that ruined them. And then their kids are utterly ruined, destroyed even. So in a way, it's the baby boomers' fault, but in a way, it's the world's fault, because that's just the way it is. You were watching a video about evolution hoaxes. All of the evolution videos are hoaxes. Evolution is not a real thing. All over the world. That's right. They started it in the 1800s, and they've covered the whole world with it. And it's bad. And the more they teach it, the further away from God our children get. You send your kids to school Christians, and they come home atheists. And we need to figure out a way to combat that. And now they're starting to come home not our children anymore. They're starting to come home completely different people. And that has got to stop. That is a fad I cannot wait to see end. It's bad news. And now they're teaching children that they don't have to listen to their parents, that they don't have to revere their parents, that they are their own people and they don't need their parents. It's bad. Have some pizza. See, now you got me stress eating. Piltdown Man, Lucy, and many others were proven to be frauds. But evolutionists will ignore those facts and keep promoting this dumb theory to drag us away from the Lord with fake science. Yep. Next time you go to the Smithsonian, I've been there, look at the exhibit of Lucy the monkey woman. Not only does she have feet and hands, but she's holding a spear, standing by a fire with a little one, and they're looking off into the distance with human eyes as if to see what's out there. All that's bullshit. That's propaganda at the highest. Number one, they didn't find feet or hands, because if they did, then they'd know it was a monkey. Number two, they only found half a skeleton. They certainly didn't find any children or spears with the skeleton. So that's malarkey, and no proof that this thing could build a fire or had human eyes. I've come to the conclusion that all science is bullshit. All of it was started by Christians, but then it was taken over and turned into science. And science is a lie. Lots of lies. Down with the school. And all them wicked doers, let's just pray hard for evil to be rebuked from us. Amen. Yep, old Richard Dawkins. I'm going to eat pizza too soon. Or I'm going to eat pizza too soon. Yep, LOL. I love you, Jake. I love you too, sweetie. Thank you. All right. That pizza's too good. Christians initiated science to delve into God's Word and discover the amazing facts of the creation. Amen. That's what it was intended to do, but as soon as they started doing it, then the atheists swooped in and took it over. All you have to do is look at the awesomeness of a DNA strand, and you'll know that a designer designed it. That's it. There's no other way to see it. That's not an accident. It's too perfect. It's too perfect, and everything that's alive needs everything else that's alive, and that's too perfect. I read you. I knew what you were saying. If nothing else, you'll learn how to spell in this podcast, won't you? I'm pretty good at reading between the lines. Don't take me long. I'll figure it out. All right. It's already 10:30. I didn't realize it got so late. Science is not the enemy of faith. They can go together, no matter what Neil deGrasse Tyson says. Well, Neil deGrasse Tyson doesn't need to be saying anything because he ain't nothing but a actor, spokesman. Him and Bill Nye, meaning not. Bill Nope. They're actors. They're not scientists. They're spokesmen. They're propagandists. And unfortunately, they don't label themselves. So it takes a grown person to actually realize this. All the young people think they're scientists and think that they have some kind of authority. They don't. I'm smarter than both of them put together. Why does everything that makes a baby look like tadpoles? Because that's a design that they have to be to come out of that little hole. Could you imagine if they had arms and legs and they get stuck in the tip of the penis? Think about it. It's pretty self-explanatory. Comes out of here, goes into there, pokes through a hole into an egg. There you have a baby. Then it grows arms and legs. Tadpoles. Have you ever actually seen a tadpole up close? I don't think you have. Never mind, LOL. You got it, huh? Understand now. I got you. Well, just think of a salmon swimming upstream. Imagine how hard a job that would be if they had arms. Just curious. I'll look it up. Well, I think I just answered it. Jane Goodall does her part, that's for sure. I actually saw her on TV one time trying to convince people that orangutans were learning how to use spears because they had taken a picture of one sticking a stick in the water, hanging from a tree. Said he was spear fishing. No, he wasn't. He was sticking a stick in the water. That's as far as it went. Well, babies don't actually look like tadpoles. Sperm kinda does, but not quite. But the moment that they become a separated cell, they start taking on the form of a person. They just don't have legs yet. The legs come a little later in the process, and the arms. I don't listen to a word that comes out of her lying mouth. I don't care how many fans we have. Or fans that she has. Well, I don't either. You probably do know her, April. She's that British woman that's always talking about monkeys on the Discovery Channel. Blonde-headed lady. I'm sure you've seen her before. She's been everywhere. She's probably silver-haired now, but... yeah, well, you can say sperm. That's a thing. But the reason that's shaped like a tadpole is because of where it has to come out of. It's pretty self-explanatory. Yeah. Ernst Haeckel was the guy's name that was doing embryos in textbooks. And he was drawing them by hand because he didn't want to provide pictures. And he faked the drawings. And he was using all kinds of different things and calling them something else. And he did go to jail for fraud because he was knowingly misleading the schools. His name was Ernst Haeckel. He even lost his doctorate, probably. So you know who I'm talking about, April? The lady's always talking about monkeys. Got a real strong British accent. I think she was even in that movie Mighty Joe Young. Or somebody that was supposed to be like her, if it wasn't her. Pizza, pizza. Look up that documentary about her thinking that orangutans are using spears. It's hilarious. I couldn't believe it. And then, I think it was her. It might have been somebody else. I think it was her, though. They had noticed that this particular chimpanzee would walk by a tree and pick up a rock and throw it at the tree and hit the tree and it'd take off running. And then it'd come back a few minutes later and pick up the rock and throw it at the tree, take off running. She said, this monkey is doing some kind of ritual. Clearly, it's some proto-spiritual behavior, like worshiping the tree or something. And I was rolling on the floor laughing. I was like, you crazy chick, don't you know that the monkey likes the way that it sounds when the rock hits the hollow tree? It's obvious. Or maybe there's bees in that tree and the monkey's trying to scare the bees away. You ever thought about that? No, it's some kind of proto-religious ritual. Because apparently some other monkeys had joined in. Hilarious. The things that these people believe. She is a liar and a moron, that's for sure. I don't know if she's a liar. She might actually believe the craziness that she spews. I won't go as far as to call her a liar, but she's definitely a moron. If she believes the stuff she teaches, though, she ain't lying to you. She just ain't smart. There was one couple that worked at Caltech, decided they were going to raise a monkey as a person. So they got them a chimpanzee at birth, brought it home, and then treated it like a human all the days of its life. Even tried to teach it to speak. Dressed it in clothes, made it brush its teeth before it went to bed, the whole 9 yards. Which worked well until the monkey reached teenage years. And then it ripped her face off because she was spending too much time with her husband. I'm just saying, you can't domesticate monkeys. They're not people. They're monkeys, and they will eat you. LOL, I will. OMG, it's just hilarious that people would say that. Wow. Well, I'm going to go eat. I love you all so much. Definitely. I love you too, sweetheart. And I'm getting ready to go too. I got to get up in the morning and get to work on my floor. What I can't believe is that people take her seriously. Your brain must be in Mars for you to believe the things she's about orangutans, that she says about orangutans. Yeah. Just laughable because of how moronic it was. Yeah. But she wrote a paper on it. They probably got a grant for it. That's how they make a living, them people. They just write ridiculous things and put it in peer reviews. And what that means is they send it to their buddies, and their buddies put it in a magazine, and then it's peer reviewed. Doesn't mean what you think it means. Look up the guy that wrote about dog rape. Wrote a whole paper and had it peer reviewed because they didn't bother reading it, and it was ridiculous. It was about dogs going to dog parks and being victims of dog rape. And they put it in he's peer reviewed now. That paper is in scientific magazines because they didn't bother reading it. They just assumed that because it came from a certain place that it was legit, and they peer reviewed it. So he proved them to be phony by doing so. You can learn about that from Joe Rogan's podcast. I don't remember exactly which one it was, but it was in the early days. But to this day, they haven't been able to make a monkey turn into a human being, and they never will. They won't even make them act like human beings because they're not people. They're monkeys. And we're not the same creature. No matter how you cut it, no matter how you look at it, they will always be monkeys. And they will always act like monkeys. They just will. All right, folks. I've had enough for one night. I'll see you tomorrow night. I got to do a lot of work tomorrow, so I'm going to go to bed early tonight. And then I will see you tomorrow at 8:30, where we get into some Paul writing. Talk about some fun stuff. I love you guys with all my heart. Take care of each other. Take care of yourselves. Keep the rubber side down and ride like your life depends on it, baby. That's ridiculous, OMG. Yeah. Yeah, you'd be surprised how dumb some of these people actually are. And they call themselves scientists, and I could work circles around them while I was half asleep. I ain't got no papers. I mean, I do, but none that I claim. It was a few years ago, a couple years ago. It's been recent. I mean, it's within the last 10 years. And anyway, they snowed the whole system of peer reviewing. It's supposed to be this big prestigious thing where you get reviewed by your peers, and then the thing that you believe becomes science. Well, they wrote a ridiculous paper on ridiculous principles, and they titled it with woke titles. So when they saw the woke titling, they just put it through. They didn't even bother to check it. Oh, they'll believe it. One way or another, Diego, they'll believe it. Because it's coming right around the corner. Revelation is going to happen whether they believe it or not. And when they do see it, they'll believe it. See, your belief in God has absolutely nothing to do with his belief in you. All right. Last time. I'm out. I love you. I'll see you tomorrow. Take care of yourselves and each other. Walk strong and talk hard. And with that, I bid you adieu.